JTMM.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first episode of JTMM Reacts. I am your host, JTMM, aka Just 10 More Minutes, and welcome to my channel. I decided to get into the reaction world as I've watched many reactors over time, and I really enjoyed watching and them giving their opinion. I thought, I'm never short of opinions, why not give them a mine? So today I've picked a very special video, at least to me, because it's something and someone that I believe strongly in, and that is Tom MacDonald's Clown World. Now, for this first video, I'm not going to get into a lot about me. You'll see me. I'm on Twitch. I'm on Twitter a lot. So if you want to get in touch with me and ask me any questions, feel free to. Today, I want to get right into the video. So let's get started.
You worry about leaving a better planet for our kids. How about leaving better kids for our planet? Entire generation offended at everything, getting mad that a human thinks all lives matter. We don't need black or white or left or right. What we need is common sense. We need balance.
So let's talk about that for a second. And I'll never apologize for pausing, because you can watch the original video if you want to see it straight through, or you're turning into a reactor so you can get their opinion. So I won't apologize for that. What we need is balance. Now, this country was founded on two parties, so they actually set us up to fight anyway, depending on what your core beliefs are. But we have to have a balance between the two. If you go in and you have too much weight on one side, this side gets ignored. Things happen. There is a balance for a reason. There's two sides to everything for a reason. There is what we call a seesaw for a reason. The only way that it truly works is when both sides are balanced. If you start going like this, what happens? One side goes up, and unless that person can help balance you out, you're going to be stuck up there. So it's all about balance, right? That's what we need right now. I won't get into it too much longer, but we've got plenty of commentary to go.
We're all in the same boat. Why are you trying to make holes? If they sink, we sink. This is madness. I'm offended that you're offended by me taking offense. You can't build a wall. Why does your house have a fence?
So this comment right here, and I'll just jump up one more just so we don't leave them on the finger. This comment right here is what inspired me among the reactors, but this video and that particular comment right there inspired me to give my opinion, because not too many people in the reaction world have touched on this that I've seen. If we can't build a wall, why does your house have a fence? Let that sink in. And if you're still wondering, why do you have a fence around your property? Why, if you go to a farm, do you see a barbed wire fence? Right? A barbed wire fence is not there to necessarily only keep things in. It's also to keep things out. You build fences to protect what is yours. And who do you protect it from? Ones that are not supposed to be there, and ones that don't have permission to be there. Yes, we have border crossings. And guess what? They're there for a reason. Are the processes the best? No, I've actually looked into it. The processes themselves are horrible, but the only way you actually improve that is by improving the processes. And unfortunately, our government sucks at business process improvement. But that's what has to happen. Until then, the rules have to be the same. You have to be able to protect your borders. If you don't know who's getting in and what their intentions are. Is that saying that everybody that's coming across illegally is a bad person? No, it's not. And I think if you were to ask many Americans, are they thinking that everybody comes across is a bad person? No. But the fact that you're not keeping the bad ones out, there's your problem. That's why we have a fence around our property, and that's why we should have a wall.
Two genders, I'm not mad at the rest. I'm just confused when a dude has a beard and some breasts.
See, this is another one that people won't touch on in the reaction because they're afraid of what people will think. Here's my very simple take on this. You can believe in more than one gender. That's okay with that. You're entitled to your opinion, but you cannot expect others to embrace your opinion as fact when it's opinion, right? You could say that this is all opinion, right? You could say that, well, having two genders based on what science has said over thousands and thousands of years, that's what science says it is. That's what we define them by. That's it. If you look at it from that standpoint, it's all opinions. It doesn't make it right or wrong. But you can't necessarily then say, well, I'm non-binary or I'm trans or I'm this, and you have to accept that. What you're saying is you're having to accept your opinion as fact. And that's really not how things work in the world. Everybody has opinions. They're entitled to those opinions. Now, if they're going and using those opinions as hatred towards you, that's a completely different story that should not be tolerated at all. But if you go in and say, I'm non-binary and you must accept that, no, a must is not part of it. Everybody is free to live their life. It's only when hatred comes in and it's used against you that there should be a line drawn. Other than that, everybody's entitled to their opinion on the gender topic. It doesn't make it right or wrong. You cannot impose your beliefs on everybody else. And that goes for both sides. People over here cannot impose over here. People over here cannot impose over here. That's just a fact. This is another one, just real quick. As Tom talks about the system, what is he holding up? Green. Why? Because what is the system about? Money.
System hates people. I think fighting violence with more violence is what they want. Viruses and riots, people dying, we won't stay home. Black lives matter, all lives matter. What's all this division for? It's modern segregation. This is setting up a civil war.
My last point before we go into the hook. Tom's right. It is modern day segregation, but they've not created it just for race. They've created it for class. What I mean by class is you've got your income, all right? So now you've got your poor, you've got your middle class, and you've got your above middle class or your wealthy. They're setting that up, and I've seen it across multiple avenues. You see it on the news. You see it on advertisements. You then see it just on standard news websites here in town where I live, just outside of Houston. On the, I won't call them out, I'll leave it at that. On their news website, every day, they've got mansions at the bottom. And it's like, see what you can get for $24 million. The average user coming to your website doesn't need to see that. All you're doing is going and saying, look at what you can't afford. Why do you want to have that in front of someone's face? Use the news to inspire and become better people. Yes, the news is always not the best thing that we see in the world, but guess what? You can use that news to just give straight news and leave the opinion out of it. Let's get back into it.
Burn the circus down, 'cause the world is full of clowns. They're all stupid and they're proud, painted smiles on their mouths. I don't hang with bozos, homie, I can't be around you. Anyone who knows me knows my feet don't fit in clown shoes. When I was a child, the only races that we hated were the ones that we ran and didn't win.
So this is probably the most commented online that I've seen throughout the reaction channels, and it should be. Because even when I was younger, right, the only races that I hated were the ones that I didn't win. Now, obviously, being a bigger guy, I didn't win many races, but I still ran them. And it still upset me. And it just made me try that much harder next time. But in the context of what he's saying is, when we're born, and everybody has said this in their reaction videos, but when we're born, we don't see the world in color. We don't see race. We don't see class. We don't see any of that. That is something that is taught. I have something in my personal life where this was taught. We would visit my grandparents in East Texas. And I'll never forget, because there were kids that lived in a trailer down the street. And this was a small farm. So it's not like it was, a mansion versus a trailer. And they were cool kids. I wanted to play when we goes and visit. And I'll never forget that I was told I shouldn't play with them because they're of a lower class. And so, being 7 and 8 years old and hearing that, you kind of start thinking that way, right? And it really took me as I got older to consciously make that difference of, hey, wait, they're no different, right? But it is taught. Same thing with racism. Racism is taught. Sexism is taught. It's taught in everything we see on the news. It's taught within families. It's taught in interaction with parents, and depending on how you were raised, it's taught everywhere. It's not something you're born with. So you really have to consciously bring yourself out of it.
Then we stopped playing with each other, started hating on each other, started noticing the color of our skin. Christians and atheists, immigrants, patriots. We love the country, but we are not saving it. Wages don't raise to the rate of inflation, and half of the country hates all of the nation. It's funny that we think the world owes us something. All the phones got smart, but the people so dumb.
So when did we start believing that the world owed us something, right? We're not owed anything by anybody. We work for everything. It's not a white privilege thing. Does white privilege exist? Yes, it does. Does it exist for every white person? Absolutely not. And I know this from experience. I've been at the same company now for over 20 years, and I left and I came back, and during that time I had to rebuild myself up. So it's not for everybody that it's a privilege. Yes, are there people in this world that get silver spoons? Is that such a thing? Yes, it is. That's just the way the world works. Some people are more better off than others. That's just the way it works. Everybody can't be on the same level field. I'll never forget Mr. Wobbles on YouTube said it best. Not everybody can have their character stats maxed. I heard him say that. I thought that was brilliant. That's really what this is. Not everybody in life is going to have all of their character stats maxed. Some people might, and they'll be up here. Some people may not. They'll be down here. Everybody makes the world turn regardless of that. But when it comes to this, we're not owed anything. We have to work for it.
We care more about the likes on a selfie than our moms, and the only time we ever speak the truth when we're drunk. We won't always agree. No, I don't hate all police. No, your thoughts and opinions ain't facts, and they are not defining my reality. No.
So right there, your opinions are not facts, and they do not define my reality. Many times as a bigger guy, I've gone into the gym to work out, right? To lose weight, be better, whatever you want to call it. And it finally got to a point where I was like, you walk into a gym, and it was for me, I'll speak for myself, not for anyone else. When you walk into a gym being a bigger guy, the first thing that I always feel was like everybody's looking at me, right? Whether I'm lifting weights, whether I'm walking on the treadmill, the Stairmaster, whatever, everybody's looking at me. I was taking in that my perception of what they were thinking was their reality. For all I know, they were looking at me or looking past me and going, man, I really want to get done with this workout. And man, I'm really thirsty, or, whatever it might be. We impose a lot of realities on people as if what we think their reality is truly their reality, when it's not. It's our perception of their reality. So what Tom is saying is we can say what we want and give our opinion about his music, the way he dresses, what he says, the issues, etc. But they don't define his reality. And that goes back to what I said about the balance up front and about the two genders. Your perception of what reality is could be different from mine. That's okay. It's a-okay, as long as it doesn't spawn hatred.
I think picking sides divides. It's probably what has got us here. United States is great regardless. That's what we forgot.
Amen to that.
Here. Black lives matter. All lives matter. What's all this division for? It's modern segregation. This is shutting up a civil war. Burn the circus down, cause the world is full of clowns. They're all stupid and they're proud. Painted smiles on their mouths. I don't hang with bozos, homie. I can't be around you. Anyone who knows me knows my feet don't fit in clown shoes. They tell you be yourself, and then they judge you on the internet till everybody hates you for it.
So let's think about that. Let me take it off there. There we go. It's a little bit more of a flattering look. They tell you to be yourself, and then they judge you on the internet until they hate you for it. Social media is one of the worst things that's happened to society, because it gave a keyboard in front of everyone and told everyone it's okay to share your opinion, which it's perfectly fine. But the people that are sharing their opinions, a lot of the times, even though they're entitled to do so, don't think about what they're saying. And so on one hand, they'll sit there and say, oh, we're not going to judge you, just be yourself. and they turn around and judge you. I'll get into more of that on some of his other songs when I react to those on other examples of that. But it's very true in this culture. And so what a lot of people do is they start comparing themselves to others, right? And when they don't measure up, then they start putting themselves down, and then they go down a deep, dark rabbit hole. I've seen it happen personally. But be yourself. And if people come in, and Tom's a prime example of this. Tom doesn't give a rat's rear end whether or not we like him or hate him. He wants the love. He loves the love. But it's not something that he has to have. He is 110% comfortable in his own skin. Everybody should be. Be the best version of you. And if anybody judges you for it and tells you to be yourself and then judge you, call them on it. Don't let them get away with it. That's true power. Let's get back to it.
Jesus was alive, I swear to God that y'all would cancel him. Because lately being negative's the real new normal. Yeah, if you're thick, you're fat, you're rich, you're bad, you're poor, you're black, you're white, you're whack. They lie, it's facts. My generation needs a bunch of free condoms. Because common sense ain't that common.
How many times have we thought that? Just if you're talking with your friends, of the lack of common sense today that we see. And that's really across the majority of the age groups, across the generations. I know I've seen it in my generation, and I've seen it in the younger generations. And I think that's a very fair statement that not everybody should be having kids. Now, that's my opinion. They're more than entitled to. But that's definitely my opinion. Tom is 100% correct. There's quite a few that need some protection.
This is what they wanted. This is how they planned it. This is to control everyone on the planet. Then we put each other in caskets, protest and panic, and they take advantage to manage the damage.
So think about that. They manage the damage. So after all the fallout that we've seen, whether it's the George Floyd, whether it's the pandemic, who's been there to try to manage the damage? And was that what they were set up to do? And if you go to your history, that's not what they were set up to do. We should not be relying on a federal government. There's a state power and there's a federal power. And too many times people instantly go to the feds for some type of relief. And so they have way too much power now with so many federal programs, assistance, and now a lot of people depend on them. That's what they want.
We won't always agree. No, freedom doesn't come free. No, there was people fighting, dying overseas so that you can have freedom and be home. I think the elites are real, but they ain't drinking baby's blood. They're creating chaos so they have something to save you from.
So that's kind of a playback on his previous statement about managing the damage. But he's really alluding to the QAnon, and there's some, I'm not afraid to say it, there's some conspiracies out there that they talk about where the elites are drinking baby's blood and that they're into these sex rings and stuff like that. Who knows what's fact? I mean, that seems very far-fetched to me, and I don't think they're drinking baby's blood. But I do think that a lot of the problems that we see that are being shown are hyped up by the elites in order for them to need more power and for us to scream at them to need some type of step in. Now, I'll talk about it in a future video of a perfect example of that. That very few people realize. There's a Hateful J that I follow. Guy's just an amazing human being, and I one day I want to be able to have a conversation with him on stream. But he gets it that there's a lot of times and a lot of things that they do where the media comes in and hypes it up so that the government looks better, and then they throw a few people some bones, and then they forget about it after a while, and things go back to the norm because they don't want change. But I've said enough. Let's get back to the vid.
Black lives matter, all lives matter. What's all this division for? It's modern segregation. This is setting up a civil war. Burn the circus down, cause the world is full of clowns. They're all stupid and they're proud. Painted smiles on their mouths. I don't hang with bozos, homie. I can't be around you. Anyone who knows me knows my feet don't fit in clown shoes.
That's so fitting for Tom. If you've watched Tom's videos, you know he's got moments where he is a clown, and he loves to he's got a great sense of humor, and he loves to show it. But a huge shout out to Nova. If you've watched any of their stuff, and I've said it before, excuse me, they are a true power couple. To do this on their own, to build the sets, to the music, the beats, there's a lot that goes into that. The marketing, cover art, all of those things that they do take some talent. The editing to do a lot of this stuff takes some extreme talent. It's not just something you can pick up overnight. So for them to do this themselves, and along with Evan, that mixes it, I believe is who it is, just absolutely amazing. And the messages that he portrays are great. He does have a new video dropping on Friday that I'm excited. That will be my first true live reaction to something. So I am looking forward to that. If you have enjoyed this video, I do appreciate you watching through all the way to the end. If you did enjoy it, please hit that like and subscribe and that bell notification so that anytime I post a new video, which should be daily, you'll get that notification. I appreciate you stopping by JTMM Reacts. And always remember, when somebody asks you to stop what you're doing, don't ask for 1 minute, don't ask for 2 minutes. And please, please do not ask for 5 more minutes. Please, whatever you, please don't ask for 5 more minutes. Someone asks you to stop what you're doing, please just ask them for just 10 more minutes. I'll see you next time on JTM Reacts. I'm JTM. I am out.
KTML.